Hi, my name is Ken Masterson. I am the developer and main driving force behind a site called Microbiome Prescription, which does microbiome analysis intended directly for patients. It is a citizen science site, which means that the data is actually available to anybody who has competency processing data. And it has already found some interesting relationships that some people have been quite infused at. Now, today I'm going to be looking at something called comorbid conditions or symptom cascade. What Where it is very easy. For underneath explorers, you'll see symptom cascade comorbid. Click that, and now you have a whole list of different conditions. And the idea is that we have a sample of over 1,000 different microbiome which have been given symptoms, and we've also have the fact that we have people giving symptoms. We can see, okay, if somebody has a symptom like flu-like symptoms and has a known parasite infection, what is the odds of giving those two? How many people have those two things and a different symptom? What's the probability? It is very, very close to how Amazon makes suggestions for what you could be interested in, or Netflix makes suggestions, or Amazon, or you name it. It is a classic method of machine learning or artificial intelligence, which is conditional probability or Bayesian. But let's not go into the technical aspect. So you go in and you can scan down to whatever you're interested in. For example, let's say we start with mood disorders. And lo and behold, we find there's no statistical association. It could be because we don't have very many people. If it cut it down from 20 to 10, then we see that, okay, we have just 20 people who have a mood disorder or somewhere around 20. And what we find is, okay, if we pick this one, then we find that we now have less people being involved. We find, for example, you have mood disorder and you have depression, or let's say absent-mindedness, or let's go down, let's look at the bottom. You have sensitivity to pain, or actually, how about Epstein-Barr, and you will now see what's left. So you have 11 people there. We started originally with 20, so only 50% of people who report the symptoms have all three of those together, and symptoms that's left over are brain fog and fatigue. Again, we can drop this level to a lower number if we want. Now let's go in and see what happens if you go and say neurological brain fog. If you click it, it will take it over to the result of analysis of these large number of samples, usually anywhere from 4 to 800 different bacteria in each. And what it has identified is what is the shift that is statistically associated with the condition. In this case, number 1 is bifidobacterium is the number 1 thing associated. The E is exponent 91, means that it is extremely unlikely to have this relationship happening by chance. When you have a high frequency and a high number here, it indicates a strong association. We have Akkermansia, but we have some other bacteria also under growth which are associated with statistical significance, which means you end up having more information. If you go to any of them, you can go and do some exploring. But for the moment, let's go back and let's look at some related things. For example, if you look at symptoms reported, you will see how many people have a variety of symptoms. This is the mix and match of everything. Over here you see something called significant enzymes and probiotics, which is an advanced feature. I'll click on to show you what happens. Basically, if you're first time onto the site, you can get a free trial membership, which is good for at least 30 days for you to explore all of the things behind the paywall. And then down below, you have the explanation of why everything isn't free. I prefer just not to become a for-profit site. I don't aim to make it a for-profit site. I'm basically just trying to cover the operating costs of running websites. Very large database, over 1 gigabyte of data, heavily indexed. So the costs for keeping everything up are significant. Okay, Explorer, again, it's right there. If you're interested in those things, then basically just sign up for a free trial membership and see how it goes. So we can go over and look at whatever is there. The initial list is done, if I remember right, by the most common aspect of everything people reported. A lot of the symptoms are related to chronic fatigue syndrome, because that is where I started off, and the result is most of the samples are somehow related to chronic fatigue syndrome. Sensitivity to mold, you have what usually gets associated with it. For example, you have 62% female, which means 38% are male. But if you are applying the gender to it, sometimes particular symptoms are gender specific, higher for females than for males. For example, let's go down and see what else. Oh, for example, headaches. And now we find we have nothing left. That is a combination that takes the total count to 20 people or less. And we can drop it to 10. And we'll see what additional things happen with a lower number of people reporting it. And we can also adjust the percentage up higher so that we only say things which are 80% likely, and we just work there. So it doesn't these are suggestions of things to consider. For example, one of the items could be hypothyroidism, in which case you may want to be tested for that. Again, all it does, it indicates some symptoms you should not be surprised develop over the next 2 or 3 or 4 years. Symptoms which you may want to approach by being proactive, because as you have seen, some of the things we have association with particular bacteria, and in which case then you know which bacteria you are really wanting to try increasing, because with the increase of it, the chance of getting brain fog decreases, and some of the other symptoms will also usually improve. So that's basically it. It's just a quick walkthrough of how you can use comorbid conditions or symptoms cascading to see what could be coming down the way, but also importantly how you can go over and identify which bacteria are the probable cause. Again, all the p-value is a probability. E means exponential. The bigger the number here, the more statistically significant it is. The smaller the number, the less statistically significant it is. I have set a very high threshold. Usually in studies, 0.02 is where a study would deem significant. I'm aiming much higher so that we have more confidence that we indeed have identified a contributing bacteria. Okay, with that said, I'll shut up and let you get back to exploring.